Hello, my name is Björn and I'm a villain. And one of the major beefs that I have with the Witch universe is the Kandrakar's bigotry and incompetence, especially in the first few arcs. Their logic is not logicking for me, and I deem that a major red flag. So, bear with me as I'm ranting about their ways in this video. Thank you. So, let's tackle the main topic of this bitching session. What would have happened if Elyon became one of the Guardians? The answer is she wouldn't. Let me tell you why. Elyon is the light of Meridian and the heiress to its throne by a birthright, meaning that from the moment she first graced the planet with her presence, she was burdened with the duty to maintain the world's balance. That was her destiny as a princess and a magical being, as only the female monarchs are capable of carrying the light that plays a crucial part in performing their duties efficiently. Since there were no other female candidates for the throne, her literal presence on the planet was a matter of its survival. And yet, when she was kidnapped and snapped out to Earth, the wisest of the wise up there did not move a finger to do anything about that, though they were very well aware that the absence of the power that she was carrying within her was going to disrupt the balance of things and result in planet's imminent decline and fast approaching collapse. However, the threat of collapse and the whole world dying out was not enough of a bother for the wise greenies to activate their one collective brain cell, so they just let Phobos to usurp the throne, Princess to be snatched away, and watch Metamor burn. What a great display of wisdom, I can't even. You could argue, of course, that at this given period of time, Kandrakar didn't have any military force, aka the Guardians, to prevent this from happening. But what's this if not another example of their incompetence? If your politics regarding involvement in other worlds' business, which is literally your job to maintain the universal peace, is dependent on having a live human workforce of a duty performing age, then maybe it's a smart decision to always keep such forces at your service. It is well known that the heart of Kandrakar chooses its successors. But the heart not making that choice does not mean that in the period between these decisions being made, it is a safe bet to not have any force at your disposal at all. As a peacekeeping organization, it is crucial to have one, because if you don't, someone who's against having the world's peace is going to turn around and bite you. In case of the first arc, this biting foe was Phobos. Yes, we all know that while his initial goal in this arc was the establishing of a total control over Metamul, it is also well known that his ambitions were shooting higher than the stars themselves, and reaching the ultimate world domination was his real endgame. And Kandrakar, in their infinite wisdom and the gift of future sight, did nothing about it. Instead of uprooting this problem and preventing his rise to power in the beginning, they sat around watching the live stream of his coup and usurping the throne along with the cutting the whole population of the magical supplies. How very nice of them to just be munching on their heavenly popcorn at times like that. Let us dissect the situation and see how the Metamor problem could have been solved. Yeah, you can argue with me all you want and say that it is easier to judge the circumstances and find the solutions while looking back at the past. But if you're going to do that, let me remind you once again that them Kandrakar folks have had the inside, outside, and every side in the all timely domains, aka past, future, and present, and it was established in the first few chapters already. Sit down, please. I'm about to give you a lecture on how to handle an otherworldly conflict as a completely unqualified expert in handling royal beef. Let's start from the beginning. We all are very well aware that since only women are fit to be the bearers of the Metamor's power, they are also the only ones able to pass this power on to their children specifically. Though Phobos did possess certain magical abilities, it is not clear as to when these abilities emerged or have been detected. Hence, there is no clear indication that his magical gift was something that he was born with, aka a piece of the Queen's power, or if Phobos did something to acquire this magic. It is known, however, that Phobos needed to suck the magic from the land to keep his own mana full. And by the time Elyon has returned to her homeland, the natural resources were already running dangerously low. This leads us to a conclusion that the natural magical reserves were only able to last for 14 years until being used up. That is, to say the least, quite unimpressive. Considering given circumstances, we can roughly estimate from this that Metamor can only run 14 years without its queen, and if the queen is not consistently present, be it a baby or a fully grown adult, the lack of the royal vessel for the so-called light results in natural cataclysms, droughts, and affects land's fertility. We do not know for sure what would have happened to Metamor if Elyon didn't return just in time when the magic was running dry, but Kandrakar most definitely did. Since Kandrakar has been present in the universe for an eternity and has been consistently observing other worlds' business all this time, there is very little chance that Meridian running low on magic would be a precedent. And even if it did become their precedent, Kandrakar not being aware that this world can perish without its queen is a laughable idea. They knew that Elyon had to return in order for the world to keep its existence, and yet they did nothing to save it. So, how could they save it? By putting a baby on the throne, of course. They've got the vessel ready, just put it on the damn chair. Of course, eliminating another regent successor to the throne precedes this move, but I doubt that a teenage boy with not so much of a magical gift would be so hard to get rid of. He did have enough power and influence to plan and succeed in his coup, but I highly doubt Kandrakar lacked resources to eliminate him once there was a chance for a quick and silent assassination. Given the characteristic of Phobos as a raging introvert, a hermit even, his love for solitude and spending all of his time in castle walls, the field for exploration and experimentation was open and wide. Yes, Kandrakar would need their spies to infiltrate the interior, and this would be a hard move to pull, but at the same time, why not just go ahead and try to recruit the spies within the castle personnel? Now that I think about it, they might have actually tried that, and this could have been the reason why Phobos had such severe trust issues and only surrounded himself with murmurers. But that's not my point. The point is, if Kandrakar didn't like Phobos so much, they could have eliminated him and put the baby puppet on the throne so that this baby would grow up being fed Kandrakar's agenda and political views and lead Meridian according to the set quote-unquote unproblematic course. So, in the first arc of the comic, Kandrakar acts all judgy and mighty, pushing the newly formed team of guardians to bring the peace and prosperity to the people of Metamor and save them from Phobos the usurper. I mean, usurper who? Usurper, literally who? As far as I know, landing an ass on the throne in the absence of any other proven living successor to the said throne is the most rightful thing one can do as a royal. And, as far as we know, there is no real evidence that Phobos conducted the coup and assassinated the queen. This has an extremely high probability, but we've seen no evidence to his guilt. Maybe he did plan the coup, but didn't intend to actually eliminate his mother. Let it be the theme for another video. We're getting off topic here. Anyways, I'm sure that at this point you all be going like, you sure like to yap, all you do is yap and complain. How about you try and fix this mess? How would you resolve this problem? Well, I'm about to tell you. Take some notes. Here is how you solve the royal beef. First of all, if you hate the queen or her politics, terminate her once the baby princess is born. That way, you keep the magical source of an entire planet all to yourself and get to influence the rightful heiress's worldview and political course. Announce yourself or your trusted confidant as a princess's regent. Even better if the regent is a high-born native. If the male heir poses a threat or somehow fumbles your plans, resisting your agenda, eliminate him as well. Once the princess is born, he essentially loses his value as a backup plan, so there is no reason to keep him around. Raise the future queen and feed her your political agenda on breakfast, lunch and dinner, plus everything in between. Do as you please, but don't violate the rights and traditions of native population. Marry the princess to someone who will further push your agenda onto her. Repeat this cycle. Rewrite the history if it suits your interests. Have no shame. It's all for the purpose of peacekeeping after all. The described route, however, is set way earlier in the event's schedule and way before the main plot is kicking the door. So now let's explore the chain of solutions that will be effective in the given timeline, starting with the very first comic chapter, shall we? The timeline is set and ready to shoot the events right in our faces. We all know that everything starts and ends with Kandrakar. So, we start with Kandrakar. It is an established fact that Kandrakar knew about Elyon's identity, if not from those coup or escape from Phobos quest, then way before Cedric managed to snatch her from the face of the earth and back home. They also knew that she'd decide to betray her friends after the revelation event and send them into a trap set by Cedric and Vathek, ultimately putting girls' lives in danger. May I remind you, the girls were only 13 to 14 years old in the beginning of the story, and yet Kandrakar did not have any concern for their lives, nor did they care to provide any type of a crash course or even a single training session, not even a briefing apart from that one breaking news sit-down announcement from Grand Malin. Talk about the incompetence. And then these big hats expect these literal teenagers to perform their duties without a hitch and not question the Kandakar's authority while being bashed for performing said duties in unsatisfactory ways. Like, give me a break. Anyways, now that we've established that Kandrakar does not have any regards for the lives of teenage girls that are supposed to be their active workforce for the next few decades, let's look at how miserably they failed at handling a lost teenage princess who has become a menace to their newly established unpaid underage employees. They could have prevented this, but preferred to sit and act mysterious when there was, in fact, a very simple solution to all of this. Just make Elyon one of the guardians. Yes, perhaps she wouldn't be an actual guardian per se, as the heart only chooses 5 people to carry on the duties, and subsequently, she would not receive any chunk of power from the heart. But since she has an unlimited magical potential of her own, this wouldn't be a problem. Yes, no cool outfit with wings either, but still better than let her go and fall under Phobos' influence and get killed. Can we take a minute and talk about what would have happened if she got killed, by the way? What would have happened to Metamor in the absence of a living carrier of its light? What if she got killed and Phobos would be unsuccessful in acquiring the light? Will the whole world and its population just die out and Kandrakar just let them? And if Phobos would be successful in getting that light, wouldn't he become an immediate danger to the neighboring Earth and Kandrakar the second he possessed this power? I just struggle to understand the lack of care for any of these threats for the peacekeeping, which is literally the Kandakar's job that they themselves gave to themselves. But whatever, I guess. Moving on. Step number 1. Set up a briefing session with newly chosen guardians that includes Elyon and use that session as a revelation event to expose her royal background. Include her in the Guardian's agenda so that she's less likely to part with her friends group, more likely to unleash her magical powers, and stay alert about Cedric and Phobos coming for her. Cut the possibility of her meeting Cedric before the briefing event to the minimum. Eliminate the slightest chance of interaction if you can. Do that, and you'll be rewarded by getting a very helpful tool in your disposal. Your team of underage unpaid workers has grown by one and is now holding even more potential than ever. Train them in Kandrakar or provide a supervisor to do so on Earth. Have the supervisor explain the trainees the reasons of your distaste towards Phobos and the history of your beef so that the young flaming hearts are engulfed with the devotion to overthrow the bastard. Once your interns are combat ready, send them to a supervised portal closing mission as their first task. Training and direct supervision can be ceased from now on to let the kids to explore their abilities on their own. Now that they've got some understanding of their powers and basic skills in handling the elements, it'll be safer to practice alone and avoid accidents. Never stop encouraging the hatred towards Phobos and persuading Elyon that she absolutely must claim the throne for herself. Plan and execute a spectacular return of the rightful Queen of Metamor and overthrowing of Phobos. Take over the castle and crown the princess. Execute the prince to never deal with him again, or imprison him if you have nothing to do with your life. You now have a teenage queen who's easy to manipulate and who's grateful and loyal to you. All is left to do is to surround her with the best advisors at your disposal and have her rule the world according to your understanding of good and evil. Mission accomplished. Congrats. Your team is down to its intended 5 members capacity and you have another world under your control. Life's never been better, and all of that in an exchange for a little effort of actually doing something and making Elyon one of the Guardians for just a year or so. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. For this illustration, I did not have any particular motive or intentions. I just looked up Elyon in Google Images search and a few funnels in the Guardian outfit popped up. I brushed through a few and decided that I should draw my own version of the costume, so here we are. I definitely wanted it to give off the royal vibe, so some elements of the noble wear were ought to be added. I did my bidding on the earrings as they are accessories and therefore not a crucial element of the attire but can serve as a status symbol. My second choice went to exaggerated shoulders, as I've often seen shoulder pads featured in Lord Cedric's outfits, and Phobos has a strong accent on his shoulders as well. Since they are the only metamorphosed noblemen we see in the first arc, I wanted to draw the connection amongst these three. Given that Elyon's crowning ceremony dress has shoulder pads as well, I was absolutely set on exaggerating shoulders to at least some extent, as it's the only common attribute attire present in all three characters' clothing. Speaking of the absolutely stunning ceremony dress that I absolutely love, I could not miss a chance to mention its features in this outfit, so I went with the widely slit sleeves. I always found these sleeve cuts very creative and witty, especially in Will's Guardian fit, but in Elyon's dress it looked rich and noble and so much different. Also, an open stomach was a no-brainer since all Guardians' outfits were showing their stomachs. For the skirt, I knew that there had to be a high-slit one. I always liked Cornelia and Hylene's skirt slits, so implementing that in the design was my intention from the beginning. I didn't know, however, what to do with the length of the skirt or the ornament around belly button, so I went with a very close resemblance of Will's skirt, since I already borrowed the slit sleeves from her outfit. To differentiate the two, I added a thin lace belt around the waist, like Hylene's. I wanted it to wrap around a few times at first, but it didn't look harmonious with a miniskirt, so I just added the lace on top of the slit to hold it in place. Thigh-high boots are a personal preference of mine, and I have at least three pairs of them, so it is a detail borrowed from myself. That would be all I wanted to say for this video. Thank you so much for watching and listening to my rambling thoughts. If you have anything to comment or add to a conversation, please do so in the comment section below. My name is Björn and I'm a villain. I'll see you around.